what's going on today. For one, if you look outside, it is gorgeous across the Charlotte area. And we see a numerous amount of showers that are now starting to fill in the gaps. Of course, this area of red is the biggest concentration, exactly what we're seeing here across the area. But for us, I think it's more of an evening event. If this was the type of setup that we were seeing storms really start to flourish during the afternoon, heading into the early evening, that would be a little bit more alarming. But it's going to come in two different sectors. For one, this is number 2. We're seeing rain that develops right along the cold front. That's going to be a line of pretty mean storms. And we're already starting to see the first precursor to that. A few isolated storms will start to brew in here. It's right here in the red that has the best chance for a twist of the atmosphere, aka tornado, or at least a rotating storm or a supercell. And then also a lot of damaging winds can come with this. We had one wind gust at 77 miles per hour in western Florida yesterday along the line of storms. It's going to set up in this area of red. These cells right here, they don't look like much, but then once they progress through the afternoon, it's super sunny right now. We have the prime conditions that are blasting in the southwest, so that could lead to an isolated shower or thunderstorm, but also an isolated tornado warning. And I'm looking at around Chester County once again, so let's roll through it. So I think the first line of a few showers starting to work into the area arrives anywhere between about 3 and 5 o'clock. It is again going to be Chester, York County, Lancaster County that we're seeing most of this activity really start to flourish. Few of these could pass by the Charlotte area. We're keeping an eye on any isolated cell. An isolated cell can become a supercell, which is that rotating storm. And all supercells will have at least some sort of hail with it, but then also we'll have a 30% chance for a tornado. So that ups our tornado potential if we see some of those. And this is one of those scenarios that a lot of us might not even see rain from this for the entirety of this evening and overnight because everything is so isolated. So this is a better chance for severe storms compared to what we had yesterday. Yesterday was the better chance for rain. We will start to see more showers and storms start to fill in the gaps a little bit later on this evening. So really anytime after 7, 8 o'clock, we're seeing more storms starting to pop up, especially that secondary line that I was showing you off towards the west. Look what happens once you get to about midnight. Few of those scattered cells individually across the area, and then some could be here by tomorrow morning. So it's even into the early morning hours that if there's enough energy to the atmosphere, even though it doesn't look all that likely, or enough spin to the atmosphere, that we could have a last-minute severe thunderstorm warning or even tornado warning. So I want to show you a different model showing what's happening through the overnight. This one has a few more cells, but it keeps a few more of these heading into the morning hours. So here's 3 o'clock. Here's 4 o'clock, not seeing a lot with the activity, but still that potential. So the top potential for any of these storms will be damaging winds. If you have any of those thunderstorms, they're going to be very quick, gusts up to 58 miles per hour. Number 2, I'm going to go with tornadoes here, and number 3 is going to be flooding. Flooding just because of the amount of rain that we saw yesterday, and some of these cells going to be producing a lot of rain. But it all comes down to the energy of the atmosphere. The best case scenario for us is that these are actually happening overnight. Now, an overnight strong thunderstorm is one of the more dangerous things because it's hidden through the shadow of the night, and oftentimes the rain wrapped, especially here in the southeast. But this storm energy is most active heading into the evening. Once you get to about midnight, a lot of that storm fuel has exhausted itself, so that is going to limit the severe potential. Still a chance for thunderstorms overnight, and we'll have a little bit of twist the atmosphere that we're watching as well. Areas off towards the east, you're going to get the second coming of this storm, so it's the last-ditch effort of these storms to regenerate tomorrow afternoon, and then we'll be done with our thunderstorm potential through your Thursday morning. As far as our tornado chances, 2%. That's not very high. But if you had 50 thunderstorms across the Carolinas or areas in the yellow, that means one of those would be tornadic. And we already saw proof in the pudding. The amount of activity that happened down in South Carolina yesterday really just shows that the stage is set for a widespread outbreak of severe thunderstorms and also tornadoes. The reason why we're focusing on our area a little bit more is the center of the energy along that front is going to be a little bit close to us, but it's definitely down here that is the biggest threat. So I'm showing you a different thing that I haven't showed before. I'm compiling all of our data on top of each other. So this is a mess to watch, but it all has a rhyme or reason. So this right here is the tornado parameter plus radar. Those two need to stack up on each other. When you have that rotation of the atmosphere and then you have the rising lift of a thunderstorm, those two together could lead to a tornado warning overhead. Notice the timing. This is 3 o'clock. The numbers are starting to move at that point. So I think any cells that first move into Chester County, York County, will have at least a slight chance for a spin-up tornado along with these. By the time you get up to about 7 o'clock, The energy is a little bit further off towards the west. Doesn't mean that you won't see it in here. It just looks to be a little less likely. But still, any of these storms, since they have already had the history of rotation to them, could have a quick blast. That little cell that you're seeing here around midnight, chance of an overnight tornado warning in the mountains is not what you like to see, but everything is lining up to be a possibility, and any last-minute storms into the early morning hours could be also crossing this path. So this is an interesting fact. 1 out of every 50 daytime tornadoes turns deadly. 1 out of every 20 nighttime ones turns deadly. So anytime you have that scenario that we're talking about at evening or overnight, that gets our attention a little bit more. So this is not to scare, just make you more weather aware. And again, as you saw for the coverage of these storms, a lot of us are going to be missing this entirely, but it definitely elevates itself heading into the evening. So we have about a 15% chance for damaging winds really west of Charlotte or right along the line, and then it limits itself as it moves its way off towards the east. As far as the rainfall, models are all over the place. It can't really handle what's happening. If you get an isolated cell that's going to quickly dump a quick inch of rain maybe in your neighborhood, that's going to go on top of the already astronomical values that we had yesterday. Chester saw over 2 inches of rain. All these light blue numbers from Lincolnton, Shelby, Gastonia, Charlotte, Rock Hill, Wadesboro, Sherrall, Rockingham saw over an inch yesterday. So that saturated the soils. That's also going to weaken the root system, allowing for maybe a fallen tree a little bit more than what we otherwise have if you get that thunderstorm. Rain chance after Thursday, nada, zip, zilch, whole lot of nothing. Good weather heading into the weekend. Any other questions going on? Nothing really happened. Just general chatter seen out there. So one just says hey, so I'm going to say hey, but then also goodbye. We'll be back with another update a little bit later on online and also on WCNC TV. Brittany Van Voorhees and Brad Panovich will be watching the storms. Bradley, and myself and Larry will be in overnight tonight as the storms are rolling on through. Take care, be safe.